Good afternoon. Today, Chef Long is going to be making a pasta with vegetables and walnuts for our entree today.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. If you were here for the first demo, we appreciate it. We always like to have repeat visitors. Again, my name is Thomas Long. I'm from Central Pennsylvania. I work for Sodexo. And tell you a little bit about myself. I've been in the business for 39 years, 25 years in hotels and restaurants, and 15 years in contract management, the last 8 being in healthcare. So, the dish we're going to do today is a dish that is pasta with vegetables and walnuts. And walnuts are going to be our protein. All right, I'm going to show you a couple different techniques on vegetable cutting that we'll be able to do. So there is a little bit of prep work involved. I know in the first recipe, if you were here for the first recipe, I peeled a tomato. So I kind of need my pan for 2 things. So I want you to imagine that these tomatoes are peeled. But we're going to do carrots, zucchini, onion, and some diced tomato. The pasta we're using today is just a regular bow tie pasta. If you would like whole wheat pasta or a flavored pasta, you can easily substitute that if that's something that you want to do. So the first thing is we're going to get my vegetable peeler. I'm proud to say I have a vegetable peeler because the last 2 years I've done this demonstration, I've come here and I forgot my vegetable peeler, so I remembered it this year. So the first thing is we're going to cut the carrots, kind of get them ready. This must be a left-handed peeler. Always remember, too, when you're working with fresh vegetables, to make sure you wash them. Remember where they're grown. Don't assume because you buy them at the grocery store that they're washed, because they're probably not. So I'm just going to cut this off real quick. And one of the things I want to make everybody aware of, when they're doing a dish where they're sauteing vegetables, one of the tricks is to make sure all the vegetables are kind of the same size. So if you cut your carrots real thick and you cut your zucchini real thin, by the time you cook them together, your zucchini is going to be overcooked and your carrots are going to be underdone. So you want to work on uniformity. It's a culinary technique that chefs work on all the time, is trying to have things the same size. It also helps too when you're eating it. You don't want to have a big piece of carrot and a little piece of zucchini because you don't get to taste things. You want to taste everything together. So I'm going to cut the carrots, and I'm going to kind of do a julienne, and I'm going to show you what a julienne is. And I don't need a lot we're going to do a single serving up here.
And feel free at any time, if you have any questions about the nutrition information or the nutrition of the dish, we have some ladies out here with microphones and we can help you answer those questions. So feel free to ask questions if you'd like.
If you want to pass a couple of those around just to get so people understand the serving size. Julienne, when we try to describe it to like a young culinarian, is like a matchstick, the size of a matchstick. Is probably the best way to describe it. And just go through and make sure all your veggies are about the same. Now, could you use the matchstick carrots that they buy in the grocery store that are already done? You could do that very easily. If that's something, if you're not good at knife skills and you don't want to stand up here and cut them, you can use those. You could grate them. The only thing about grating them is grating creates a lot of juice. It kind of changes the cell structure. If you can slice them, like julienne like this, or buy the matchsticks, it's a little different. So there we have those. Zucchini. Going to show you the same thing. Now, zucchini is a little different because what I want to do here is I want some color. Okay? And if you notice on a zucchini, there's not really a whole lot of color here. Okay, it's going to look kind of the same as the pasta, and you're not going to recognize it. So I'm going to take that away. You can save this for zucchini bread, or chop it up and put it in vegetable soup. That's fine. What I want is some of the skin. All right, so I'm going to try to cut this the same size as the carrots, so they all kind of have the same shape. And then the next vegetable we're going to do is red onion.
And one thing that's great about this dish is the fact that it incorporates so many different vegetables with so many different colors. There's no one vegetable that's better than the other. We want you to get a variety of vegetables. So this is a great, colorful dish that incorporates all different kinds of vegetables and all different colors. That's going to really benefit your health as well.
Red onion. If you're not a fan of red onion, you can use white. Red onion is there. It's a little different. It's not as strong, and it does give it color. I'm actually not going to cut into the root. The root is what kind of brings on the tears sometime, and I need a little bit of a single serving, so I'm going to cut as much as I need. So I'm just going to go right above it. Now your recipe actually calls for it to be diced, which you can do if you want to do that. I'm actually just going to change it a little bit just because I like to see things kind of the same size. I just think that makes a little more sense. So I'm going to actually julienne this. Now when you do this, you just want to kind of curl around. And get our pan hot just a little bit. Some of the other things that we're working with are also chopped parsley. I'm going to get some chopped parsley done. I'm going to get some tomatoes ready. I just want to talk a little bit about the walnuts. One of the tricks to this dish is to toast your walnuts ahead of time. Now, walnuts are very, very expensive, so you don't need a lot, but you want to take them and put them on like a small cookie sheet or something like that, probably 350 in the oven, 7 minutes, no more than that. You'll start to smell them. They're going to smell like toasted nuts, and then you can do that a day or two ahead of time. You don't have to do it the day of the dish. You can do that and save them and put them on salads, whatever you want. They don't have to be just for this dish, as long as you keep them in a sealed container, but they're going to have a little bit of a nut toasted flavor. I'll pass a couple of these around too. Now these were done in the oven in probably, like I said, 7 minutes, and it's enough to bring the oils out. If you overcook them, don't want to do that because it can be expensive. All right, but they should start to get a little bit of a brownish color, and all it does is develop the oils, because nuts have oil. You've heard of nut oils, right? So. Our tomatoes, I'm just going to take the core out, because I don't like the core. And I'm going to dice these. For this, I'm actually not going to use the center. The recipe, one of the things of the recipe, you don't have to use fresh tomatoes if you don't want to. If you like canned tomatoes, some people like the flavor of canned tomatoes, and they sell a low-sodium canned tomato. Some people love it. And there's certain things that they're not bad for. So if you want your sauce, because the sauce in this is going to be olive oil and rice wine vinegar. And if you want a little more liquid, you can use a canned tomato, if that's something that you like, okay? Most canned tomatoes are made with Romas, all right, which is what this is. And it's in a sense of saving time if it's a little less work, because a lot of people might think, well, this is like a lot of prep work. It is. It's not a lot, but it's something that you can get this done the morning of your supper or the night before, and you come home and you put it together. It's that easy. You're doing like stir-fry cooking. All right. And last but not least, I have to apologize for my board. I don't have a lot of space. There's some chopped parsley. Now, fresh herbs are really important in any kind of vegetarian type cuisine because it adds a lot of flavor. If you're not a fan of fresh parsley, dried parsley is okay. It's a lot different than cilantro. You have to have fresh cilantro. You can use dried parsley if it's something that you don't have knife skills. I don't recommend it. It doesn't take much to do this. Again, you want to cut off the stems. And what my chef used to say, no trees. I don't want to put any trees in there. You just want to kind of bunch it together a little bit. And if anybody has any questions along the way, just feel free to raise your hand and we'll stop and take some time to answer them.
And keep in mind, whenever you're cooking heart healthy, the fresh herbs and the spices play a very big role because we're trying to get you to decrease that salt and sodium intake, which is so important. We want your food to have lots of great flavor, but just not coming from the salt and sodium. So experimenting with some of these herbs and some of these spices is a great way to incorporate lots of good flavor into your foods without adding the salt and sodium into your diet.
First thing we want to do is saute our onions. Our tomatoes don't need a lot of cooking time, so I'm going to kind of slide them over here. Now, if you notice, I got my pan hot first. Then I added my oil. Don't turn your pan on and add your oil and try to start cooking, all right? You're not going to get good results. You want to, you can get your pan, put some heat under your pan, but if you don't have oil in it, it's a lot safer than putting oil in it and turning on and walking away and trying to wait for it to get hot. This is a simple technique that the chefs train you in. Always start with a hot pan, then add your oil. Very simple, but it makes a difference. I'm going to just go with a little bit of garlic. Now this is the chopped garlic, the kind of stuff that you find in most grocery stores. But you can do fresh garlic. Fresh garlic is obviously a lot better. Garlic is an aromatic, so you're going to smell it. You want to make sure we don't burn it, okay? I'm going to get my carrots in there. Just keep it turning. And this is something that, if I can make a recommendation too, for those of you who have children and you want to try to get them to eat something like this, section all your vegetables out ahead of time, your onions, your carrots, your zucchini, all that kind of stuff, and let them pick what they want in it. If you try to force feed them and say, this is the dish, and it has zucchini, oh, I don't like that. But if you let them pick what they want in it, I have 2 daughters at home, and I do that, and I let them tell me what they want in the stir fry. You know, it's kind of interesting, but this is rice vinegar. They all started out saying, oh, I don't want broccoli or I don't want peppers. And I would always throw a little piece of one in each one that they didn't want. And I said, just try it. You don't need it, you don't have to. And you know what? Now they come through and they say, I'll take everything. Because it gave them an opportunity to try it. This does smell delicious, doesn't it? I can smell it.
And just, if you have a recipe card, if you don't have one, let one of these ladies know and we can get you one. There is one little typo on this recipe card as well. Chef Long just added 2 1/4 tablespoons worth of rice wine vinegar to our dish. On your recipe card it says 2 1/4 cups, so that's going to make a little bit of a difference. Let's take out your pen, and instead of 2 1/4 cups of rice wine vinegar, the correct measurement should be 2 1/4 tablespoons of the rice wine vinegar. So just take note of that.
One of the things too, I don't know if everybody can see that. I understand we don't have a monitor. All right, a lot of nice color. All right, very simple. You see the onions are starting to get a little translucent. And you can go as far as you want. If you like caramelized onions, you could have taken those onions and sauteed them a little longer and get a little browner color. That releases a whole different flavor. If that's something you like. All right, zucchini does not take long to cook. It is mostly water, okay? So you cut it a little thinner, and it's wonderful when it's cooked crisp. If it's overcooked, it's not as good. It's not as doesn't have as great of a mouthfeel. Okay, the last couple things that we have to go in here are peas, pasta, tomatoes, and parsley, and then walnuts at the end. Very simple. These are regular frozen peas. You can pull out as much as you need. Pull out as much as you need. Thaw them out the day ahead of time. They're already blanched. Most frozen vegetables, in fact all frozen vegetables, are blanched. So like if you see peas on the salad bar, they take them right out of the freezer, they thaw them out, they put them on the salad bar, you eat them on your salad. So they're already kind of cooked. So they need to go in kind of towards the end. You want to keep them bright green. Pasta, just want to talk a little bit about pasta. This is like a bow tie pasta. You can use whatever your favorite shape is. I don't recommend a noodle, but I recommend like a spoon pasta. A rotini, a bow tie, a penne, a ziti, something like that. It's a little easier to eat with the vegetables that are going to be the same size. Pasta. We're going to put our portion of pasta in. Again, turning. Now there's not a lot of sauce. Your sauce is your olive oil and your rice wine vinegar. Now where this dish starts to explode, now you see the difference. Kind of got a white background for all those vegetables. Now the vegetables are starting to pop. Before they were just vegetables in a pan. Okay? Take a minute to get this a little hotter. I want to talk about the burner I'm using. The burner I'm using is called an induction burner, and it actually is done, it's electric, but it's done with magnets. It's one of the more recent ways of cooking techniques. The countertop is not as hot. Where electric, it would be really, really hot. And as soon as the pan goes on the burner, it starts to get hot again. They're wonderful. They heat up fast, much faster than gas, believe it or not. People can't believe that, but it's true. Okay. Getting our pasta hot. I'm just going to turn this up just a little bit. Tomatoes. Like I said, tomatoes don't need a lot of cooking. So we're basically going to warm those. Peas don't need a lot of cooking. So we're going to warm those. Now we've got a lot of color. Okay? Got a little bit of red, we got some bright green, we got the carrots, we got the pasta. And at the very end, we're going to garnish it with our parsley and our walnuts. Okay. Last but not least, we need a little bit of flavor. Okay, we have garlic in there. And if you weren't here for the first cooking demo, I talked about creating your own salt and pepper blend. All right, take your black pepper. You want about 2/3 black pepper, 1/3 salt. Everybody else does it the other way around. If you're trying to cut your sodium, if it's a little too spicy for you, you probably have just as much salt as you need. All right? But mix it up and just keep it in a small container, kind of airtight, like a little souffle cup that has a lid that you can sprinkle on your own blend. Okay? Now, if this still doesn't have enough flavor for you, dry herbs like oregano or Italian seasoning, that kind of stuff, you can throw in here and kind of customize it yourself. The key is getting the sauce just the way you want it. A little salt and pepper. And at the very end, some parsley. And then our walnuts. I just want to turn those walnuts over just so they get a little coating of that oil. You want them to go in last because you don't want them to be saturated. Okay? You want them to kind of still be kind of crispy. Just want to get them warmed through.
And as far as the walnuts go, we really love the walnuts in terms of your heart health. Almonds and walnuts are going to be your two best choices for your heart health because they both contain a little bit of plant-based omega-3 fatty acids. And we know that those omega-3 fatty acids are essential to our diet, and they can help improve your heart health. So using walnuts in your dishes and even as a substitute for your protein is going to be wonderful.
And while you're cooking this, if you start to get your liquid goes a little dry, you can always add just a touch more oil or a touch more vinegar very easily, just to kind of bring it back to life. Because what's going to happen when you start heating your pasta, what happens? Your pasta starts to suck up all your juices, and then it becomes dry. So I like to work out of a little squirt bottle. It's just a lot easier. Just that quick. Just enough so there's enough juice. All right, beautiful.
How'd it taste, guys? Good? Wonderful. Do you have any questions for Chef Long or for myself?
On here.
Instead of 2 1/4 cups of rice wine vinegar, it's actually 2 1/4 tablespoons of rice wine vinegar.
Yes.
Is it better to store your extra walnuts in the refrigerator or
No.
on the counter?
I would put them in do you have a pantry? Or a drawer? I would put them like in a Ziploc bag and just keep them out of the sunlight. Yeah, you don't want them in the sunlight. Yeah. You don't even want, a lot of people keep, if you remember the spices years ago, used to be on a spice caddy on the counter, and actually direct light is not good for spices because they deteriorate a little quicker. Yes, so you want to try to keep them shaded, absolutely. Spices are expensive. They don't have a shelf life of forever. And every once in a while, you should actually go through your spice cabinet. And when was the last time you used it? If you haven't used it in a long time, you probably need to get rid of it. But things like black pepper, chili powder, those kind of things, they can become like sawdust. You're putting them in your food, but you're not getting a lot of flavor. And I'm not here to promote McCormick or anybody, but they all sell smaller containers of spices now. That's a little more consumer friendly. If you don't use a lot of a spice, buy a small one. But usually the shelf life is like, I think, 1 year after they're opened. And I guarantee you, everybody here has a spice that's over a year old in their cabinet. Probably some are 10 years old. So, but it makes a difference. So.
Any other questions?
I want to thank everybody. If there's no other questions, I want to thank everybody for coming. It's always a pleasure to be here and to cook for you. Thank you very much.